think growing up, I liked to take bits and pieces of things that I liked from people and apply them to my own climbing. So for Adam, I really appreciated like, yeah, his attention to flexibility and mobility and specific route training and just the way that he always like attacked not only training, but also performance in the moment. Like there's never a moment that Adam's on the wall where you question whether he's giving 100%. You know is happening every time. And that's something that is like so inspiring to me because it's like it could be so easy when you're climbing on a route at your level to just think about the daunting task ahead. And Adam doesn't care. He's almost upset that anything that he does isn't happening in the moment. And it's like that is like such a, it can be an intense mindset to be in, but it's definitely something to learn from that. Like you should being able to bring goals to you in an approachable way. Sometimes you just gotta force it.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm curious because I think you're absolutely right. That guy tries hard and also seems to really enjoy climbing no matter where he's at. Like if he's on like the grossest things, climbing a bridge or whatever, or, climbing in the most beautiful places in the world, he seems to not only try really hard, but also enjoy it. And is that something that, has made an impression on you as well?
No, I need to be inspired by the climbs that I'm doing. And if I can't visually get behind it, it's very hard for me to apply myself 100%. Like, even like, Death of Villains, some of these climbs, like these are like beautiful routes. Because it's like visually is usually like what it gets my attention first, and then I'll start working and realize I like the movement as well. Santorini perhaps maybe isn't as visual of a crag, but I had been there for so many years. Like just I used it as like training sometimes for to doing other routes, and I watched some of these strong climbers come through that like I just kind of wanted to be involved. Like yeah, like, this is my time. Like I'm strong enough to do it as well. But for the most part, yeah, no, I need to be visually inspired before I can be physically inspired. So I can't get
No.
behind that specific one, but I can
No,
appreciate
that's
it.
great. I love that. I mean, I think aesthetics, can matter. Obviously, they can be really inspiring. I think about Chris Sharma, like in the King lines, and like he seems to be really drawn to just like the absolute most beautiful lines. And is that somebody that you interacted with, over the years?
Yeah, 100%. I was just climbing with Chris just a bit ago, and we were looking at some climbs, and he was like talking about even like his past and some of the routes that he chose, and I could really resonate with that because well, especially with Chris, because he was such a pioneer of the sport that a lot of these hard, visionary lines the world was like his oyster and it was a blank canvas. And so, I mean, when you're the first person to do 15A, 15B, all these routes that he's doing, it's like he had so many options to be able to scour the earth for the most beautiful things he was inspired by and like establish them. And I think that's so cool because I would hope to one day be able to give back to the sport in the way that he has as well.
Yeah, were you all doing some deep water soloing together?
Oh my gosh. No, we were climbing with the ropes. He wasn't in Mallorca with me, although we were there at the same time, which our schedules just didn't align. But yeah, no, we've climbed together on multiple occasions over the years, actually. So yeah, he's always been a really good friend and mentor.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's interesting. His style is he's quite dynamic and obviously was fairly revolutionary, or not fairly, was very revolutionary in the sport when he was younger and competing and bringing in a lot more momentum and dynamic style. But he also is like a monster when it comes to like crimping and like small crimping and bearing down on things. You mentioned earlier that kind of that style, like that crimpy style, is something that has been a bit of a struggle or a thing that you focus on with your training to shore up. And is there anything that you've learned in talking with Chris or working with him to emulate some of that Sharma-esque style?
Um, no. And the reason why is because we climb very, very differently, uh,
Hmm.
just from the base. Uh, I remember, funny enough, years ago when I was doing Aravea and he came to the crag to visit and to just hang out. And he was talking to me about his original beta and showing me how he did it and how you grab this pinch and you make this insane cross, so you cut his feet. And I was just like, Chris, there's a heel hook right there. If you use that hold, if you could do all three of the movements you just did in one, and much simpler. And so I think that, I mean, I'm inspired by his strength. I think he's an amazing climber, definitely a role model of mine. But I don't think that Chris's style of climbing necessarily aligns with my skill sets. And that's okay. I think it's really cool the fact that climbing is one of the rare sports where you can have multiple people sitting side by side with different skill sets, body types, approaches to the sport, and they're all successful. Because, I mean, if you're able to use your body in the way that's advantageous to you, then you're able to make it work in the sport.
All right, y'all, just a quick minute here to shout out today's sponsor, which is Scarpa. Oh, I'm so psyched. My very first pair of climbing shoes and approach shoes were by Scarpa, and I have loved them ever since. I'm so grateful that they're supporting the show here. Y'all, whether you are smearing granite like Amity Warm, towing into steep pockets like Matty Hong, bouncing from volume to volume like Nathaniel Coleman, or tossing crazy heel hooks like Alex Puccio, Scarpa has got you. They have been making the best footwear for peak performance as well as sustainability since 1938. They are here to take care of your adventures. You can shop the entire collection at scarpa.com. Scarpa, no place too far. Let's get back to the video.
I love you kind of noting that he didn't take the path of least resistance on Aravaic, because I don't feel like Chris Sharma has ever taken the path of least resistance on anything. I'm thinking about Necessary Evil, where he campused the crux, or like Biography. When you compare him climbing on Biography with Margot climbing on it, and he's grunting and power moving through these things, and it's so inspiring and amazing to see. But then you look at Margot, and it's efficiency and mobility and heel hooks above the head, and kind of, it seems more flowy. I won't say effortless. Obviously, she was trying max effort on that, but it is interesting to combine those two. I know you spent a lot of time with Margot. I've seen pictures of you guys out in the Hurricane and all that. And so, just kind of contrasting their styles is really fascinating as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where you have to use what you have in order to achieve what you want. And not everybody has Margot Hayes' hips and flexibility. And so if you don't, then you got to use the other things that you have, right? Like the brute strength and the conviction. And so I feel like also having control over your hip movement is transformative to climbing, especially when you don't have the upper body strength. And so, yeah, I just think that it's another example of how impressive it is that two people who have completely different climbing styles and strengths and approaches can climb the same route. I mean, and arguably, I think probably Margot did it in probably less time than Chris. Granted, it's 20 years later and a lot more beta in information, but it's still impressive just to see that.